wanted to ask on Verge, how's he looked since returning to practice, and what boost does he give your lineup, returning?
Yeah, Zoe hasn't really missed a beat physically. He looks great. He was actually battling an upper thigh issue, so the week off probably helped him with that, putting that behind him. So he looks good, and he has for the last couple of days. And obviously we got to get through today's practice, but yeah, he looks very good.
Hode Rubino, then Carson.
Hi, Bobby. I know that while Verge was out and you had the more physical starting lineup with Tayshaun over there, you said that it's a lineup that actually you liked, and obviously depending on matchups, probably a starting lineup you would go to. Looking at San Diego State, looks like it might be one of those teams that you might favor a more physical starting lineup, and maybe also at the same time ease Verge into the thick of things.
I anticipate Zoe being back in the lineup. He's kind of, he's earned that, through what he's done here, especially last year, second half of last year. And then, it was something beyond his control that took him out of the lineup. So, assuming we get through practice normally today, he's going to be back in the starting lineup.
Carson Breber, Michelle, and then Chris Cartman.
Hey, Bobby, how do you feel like Remy's grown as a decision maker this year?
Well, I think his efficiency has been better. His he's being productive and he's still scoring the basketball, without the volume of shot attempts. His percentages are great. He came in with a focus on trying to make his teammates better. I notice him really, whether it's pass aheads or hitting the paint and finding an open teammate. I know he's very focused on making everyone better. In addition to being a guy like you saw in the second half of the Cal game, making big plays down the stretch, scoring it, had a couple of big steals. So he's just doing a lot of things to help us win right now.
Michelle, then Chris, then Doug Holler.
Hey, Coach, do you think this year has almost made you a better coach because you've had so many things to deal with and you've had to adjust and it's stuff that you don't know until you've actually had to deal with it?
I don't have a lot of patience, and then this year has taught me to try and be patient, try and understand that this is not going to be a smooth ride at all. And whatever negative things happen, you have to accept it. You have to, try and make the most out of it. I think I've been more tolerant, and things like that. And, it's going to be what I need to be for my team as well, just because I have some young guys and we're integrating new players. And, I have a vision of us being a lot better later in the year. And so it's kind of a microcosm of me coaching, just being patient with this virus and all the things that are happening with that, and also just watching our team develop and try and get better.
Bobby, what are some of the keys to having great possessions when defenses are really grinding things out and you're kind of having to kind of maximize your opportunities on that end?
We'll see what that's like tomorrow night, because that's what we're going to face. San Diego State's a veteran team. Brian Dutcher's done a great job, not missing a beat after Steve Fisher stepping down. They're an older team. They're bringing back a number of guys on a team that won over 30 games last year. It was one of the best teams in the country, and they don't get rattled. They were in a game with Pepperdine where they were down 16. They were down early to UCLA, and they kind of really just grind you up, and they stay in the game, and they're mentally tough, and they're a very good defensive team, and the way they've been able to generate turnovers. So we have to value the ball, and we've been a top 10 team so far in offensive efficiency, and that's going to really get tested tomorrow night.
Doug Holler, Jordan, and then Mark Ziegler from San Diego.
Bobby, how challenging has it been to prepare for a game without your full staff around? And also, do you expect Rashawn and Eric and everybody to be back on Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, just how it all went down, getting that call at 7 a.m. on in Cal the day of the game and spending hours just sorting everything out and talking with Cal and making sure they were comfortable with what happened with our situation. And, to not have a guy that, we talk, I mean, we've still been talking about this game and talking about practice and everything else, but to not have Coach Burno has been a significant loss, for the last week. But we're hopeful to get him back. He's potentially could be back tomorrow.
Coach, what's been one focus that you've been telling your team heading into this game? I know you guys are trying to play your game rather than adapting to the other team, but what's sort of one focus you've been harping on the guys for SDSU?
Well, I touched on it earlier. I think, San Diego State does a great job of getting in gaps on defense, and they have active hands. They're very good at getting deflections. So, over penetration, it could be an issue if we don't, we got to limit our dribbling, and if we can't go by our guy, we got to move the ball. The ball can't stick, certainly on the offensive end. Defensively, we have to rebound. And that's something that we didn't do very well, in our last game versus Cal. So we have to rebound the ball better. And I think this is a game of, maybe a little bit different styles. A team that San Diego State is going to be a little more deliberate on offense. They're going to try and be very physical on defense. And we obviously want to play at a quicker tempo. So, who's going to be able to control that or dictate some of the terms on that.
Mark Ziegler, Trevor Booth, and then Ethan Ryder.
Coach, I wonder if you could expand a little bit more on what you just said about it. Seems like you're separated by one spot in the rankings, but these are just two completely different teams. Is this just as an example of, particularly in college basketball, there's just so many different ways to skin the cat, and how are some of the other ways that these teams are different?
Well, I really respect as a coach, just watching film, how San Diego State plays. How they defend, how unselfish they play. They're a very deep team. They play together. They play to win. And, those are great habits. You could tell there's a really good culture there. And, they have a physicality and a mental toughness about them that's noticeable when you watch them. So if you're weak-minded or if you're not strong with the ball in a game like this, they could really expose you. And then when you've won at the level that they won last year, just winning that many games and having that many returning core players coming back, there's an expectation of winning, and you see the confidence that they're playing with. So it's an exciting game to be a part of, and it's going to be a real challenging test, for our young guys and tomorrow night.
Thanks.
Ethan, Griffin Peters, and then Tressa.
Hey, Coach, you talked about on 98.7 earlier this week about recruiting good athletes and having a high-level pace of play. But you also talked about earlier against Villanova that sometimes there was not enough passing on offense, one or two passes. How do you balance that, having a high level or high pace of play, but also being able to move around the ball?
You just have to trust your decision makers, and you got to watch film. And if you think that, there were some shots that were questionable, then you address it and you're open about it, and you don't try and pretend it doesn't exist. But at the end of the day, I think you got to trust your players that when they're out there that you've practiced hard, you prepared, and then they're going to make the best decisions they can make. Certainly, I thought there might have been a couple of quick ones there, but we're built to get up and down the court quick. We're built to score points in bunches if when we get going, and so we have to play to our strengths and live with the results.
Let's go, Trevor Booth. I skipped over him. Trevor, Griffin, and then Tressa.
Bobby, you mentioned on the radio yesterday that Marcus was going to be practicing in a limited fashion. How did he look, and what do you anticipate his status to be for the game?
Marcus did a little more yesterday, but he's going to have to show me more today. And, so not to say this is going to be a long-term thing. I don't. I think it's really, going to be a short-term issue. But at the same time, I have a responsibility to that kid and his family to make sure that he's 100% when he gets back in the lineup. especially particularly with the future he has in front of him, and just the type of injury it was, and to make sure that we're checking all our boxes and making sure that he's absolutely ready to go. So, if I had to tell you right now, I would say it's not looking like he's going to go tomorrow, but he's still day to day, and we'll just take a look and see what he looks like today.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned after the Cal game you weren't necessarily thrilled about your offensive flow, especially early. What's the key for you guys getting going early often against the San Diego State team that's so stout defensively?
Well, we just we turned it over too many times. So, we shot good percentages. I think we shot 50 for the game, so we were fine. Marcus shots that he would normally connect on, he just wasn't going great, wasn't hitting. And then we had 14 turnovers with as good as our guards are, as good as playmakers as they are, we can't afford to give the ball away that many times. So that was, probably the major issue, for our offense.
Tressa, then Zach Keenan, then Jeff Schneider.
Hey, Coach. Good morning. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Kind of switching gears for a second. I don't know if you had a chance to see, but kind of making national headlines right now. Coach K called on college basketball to reassess whether or not playing the rest of the season due to COVID is the smartest thing, citing, the safety, the mental and physical health and well-being of players and staff. I was just wondering if you had a chance to see any of that, and if you think the positives outweigh the cons continuing the basketball season.
Well, it's been a challenging start, and certainly, I respect someone of Coach K's magnitude, what he's meant for the game, and anytime he talks about the game, you have to pay attention and listen and respect his opinion, certainly. I'm kind of living in our moment here with my team, and what I could say is that these guys love to play. They want to play. This last 8 months has been so hard on these young people, and the time between the lines is an opportunity for them to express themselves and be who they are. These competitions tomorrow night, to have an opportunity to play a nationally ranked team, our guys are so thrilled for that opportunity and appreciative of that opportunity. And, I will say that, there are risks certainly, and we know a lot more about the virus than we did when we shut down the last time. I think, certainly people that have underlying health issues and elderly should, most likely not be around our program and participate. But as long as our leadership feels it's safe for us to go, then we're pushing forward. I mean, my players are, Remy Martin, Alonzo, Verge, Josh Christopher, they're on like a 5-month job interview right now. I mean, that's how they're looking at, like, what they do over the next several months is going to impact their future and their career. And that's important to them. They've worked their whole lives to have an opportunity to potentially, play in the NBA or at a high level overseas. And so I'm not going to be the one that want to take that, away from our players.
Zach, Jeff Schneider, Tyler Drake.
Hey, Coach. At the beginning of the year, you talked about looking for another Mickey Mitchell. A lot of people jumped to Chris Austin because he's another tall, white, lanky dude. But are there other reasons why you think Chris Austin is on his way to filling that Mickey Mitchell role?
Well, I think Chris has demonstrated kind of a blue-collar approach. He shows up every day, works hard in practice, gives you what he has. He knows who he is. He doesn't try and do anything he can't do. So he's gonna battle and give you what he's got. I think Kamani Lawrence is another guy that has been really, emerging more in practice as he's been able to do more just with his rebounding. That's something that I'm going to be talking a lot about with our team and Kamani is a guy that's put on some weight and gotten stronger. I think he could address some of those issues on our front court with making sure we rebound the ball at the level we need to.
Jeff Schneider, and then Michael Caratenuto, then Michelle Gardner.
Hey, Coach, how are you? Being ranked in the top 25 is great for fans and it's great for the media to talk about. But I'm just wondering, how does the team react to being ranked in the top 25? Is that something you guys talk about? Does it put added pressure on the team when they take the court? You mentioned earlier that, you're playing a ranked team, so obviously you're aware that San Diego State is ranked. I'm sure they're aware you're ranked. So does it have any extra emphasis when you're playing the game?
Well, I would say that, we don't talk internally about it, but I'm sure the players see it. They take pride in knowing that people project us to be good. And we've gotten off to a good start. We're 3-1. We haven't done anything wrong. Losing to Villanova in Connecticut is not a poor loss. And then we won a road game in the league. So we're happy with where we are. We know we have a long way to go. But we always, we focused on knowing going into these games with ranked opponents, what an opportunity that was for your program, for yourself to get a quality win, a potential quad 1 win. And so we certainly talked about that last year as we would play teams in our league that were ranked last year.
Yeah, Coach, to kind of piggyback off as well, when you talk about San Diego State's, obviously their experience and their depth, and you having a little bit of a younger team, do you feel like Remy's presence kind of helps maybe the team not get as rattled against, like you said, a team of San Diego State that has that experience?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a test, not only in things that I've touched on already, but just our togetherness. How tight are we of a unit? Because they're not going away in that game tomorrow. It's going to be a 40-minute battle. They know how to navigate through these type of games. That's why they've won so many games over the last year. And so how, can we stick together through stretches of the game where things may not be going well for us? Are we that connected of a group to be able to handle that? And, I didn't think we did a great job of that against Villanova at times. I thought we played them fairly even, and then we had a couple of stretches where we couldn't get a defensive rebound, and it led to some open shots for them. And we just have to avoid situations like that. And your hope is, Remy being one of your older guys and one of your leaders, that he would facilitate that on the court.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Michelle, Doug, and Ethan.
Coach, is Dazuba any closer to giving you some minutes off the bench? I know you said you wanted to work him in slowly because he got here late. Is he any closer to being able to be out there in some pivotal minutes?
Well, again, I can't talk about specific things relating to specific things right now, but Pab was not around the team the last several days, so he hasn't practiced. So, when you miss that much time, and he missed so much time, and he's one of the younger players, he's 17 years old. So, he's still learning. And I think I stated early with him that I think you'll see him be able to help us, as the year goes on and later in the year as he feels more comfortable and he gets the reps under his belt. But the last few days not being around certainly doesn't help him for this week.
Doug, and then Ethan.
Bobby, just with Holland joining you guys, already a crowded backcourt, how do you think he has fit in these first few games?
I think he's been great. I think his last game versus Cal is just very calming influence out there. Just he hit his shots. He found his shot. I was surprised he didn't shoot it as well initially, but it's kind of understandable when you have a different role. And he actually shared how defenses last year would have like 4 guys loading to him, during his games, and he'd have to deal with that all the time. And this is kind of a different situation for him, not having the ball as much. Obviously, Remy's going to have it, and Josh will, and Zoe. So he's, finding a way to be effective, to impact the game. And I think even when he wasn't making shots and he made some big ones versus Cal, he was still guarding the ball very well and doing some other things to help us. So feel really good about him. He's a really solid guy that you could count on. And, he's really a team guy. He wants to win, and he's accepted this role, even though it hasn't been exactly what he had last year.
Okay, right now, last one, Ethan, Ryder.
Yeah, Coach, you've talked about being firepower on the offensive end and talking about working a little bit more on defense. what are you going to focus on defensively for this San Diego State matchup?
Well, I think we've shown that we could turn some teams over. So that's been a bright spot, for our defense. It's something that we did well last year. Also, again, I touched on it. It's going to be, against a team that's going to run some half-court offense. We got to be good. Late clock defense. We have to, we got to make stops late clock, and we got to rebound as a group. We got to resist the temptation of trying to leak out and hoping someone else gets the board. We got to really, 5 guys got to get in there and rebound collectively and help, help Jalen Graham, help Tayshaun Cherry, help Chris Oston. And I would love to see our guards, take more ownership, more accountability to get in there and rebound the ball.